Good day. Today, our discussion is based on a study titled Applying Laurillard's Conversational Framework in a Digital Classroom. So we'll start by introducing ourselves. My name is Annette Amponsa. I'm the head of preschool, Angel Specialist School International.
I'm Xavier Coker, a teacher and a digital media strategist.
Hello, I'm Esther Penamai. I am Head of Language and Creativity at Beacon College International and a Key Stage 3, 4, and 5 educator.
I'm Firdaus Harina. I'm also a basic school educator.
I'm Nancy Agweminya. I'm a play-based literacy and numeracy educator. I'm a young researcher and a freelance virtual teacher. Thank you. It's Faustina, and she's a proprietress of Danbridge Montessori, and she's an educator as well. Thank you very much.
So let's talk about the case study. At Western Hills, LA Primary, a school in Ghana, teachers observed that learners were often passive during lessons, especially with maths and science. Students mainly listened to what they were being taught, but found it difficult to apply concepts in their own. Now, to address this challenge, the school introduced Laurillard's conversational framework, which focuses on dialogue, feedback, and active learning cycles to improve understanding. With this in mind, I'd like to ask, what is Laurillard's conversational framework and why is it important in this context? Xavier, can you help us with that?
All right, so the Laurillard's conversational framework, it's a model designed to explain the complex nature of interaction between teachers and students in order to aid teaching and learning. So in this model, teachers introduce the topic and students' response to it. The teacher based on students' response to further explain the topic. That's how it works.
Thank you, Xavier. So, Firdaus, please, based on this case study, how does learning occur within this framework?
Okay, thank you very much. So, Dinah Laurillard's conversational framework posits that learning occurs through an iterative cycle. So, the teacher introduces a concept, student response, and then the teacher gives a feedback based on the student's response. And it doesn't end there. It continues until the student develops understanding. So in this case study, the student develops understanding because the student wasn't just a passive learner. The student was an active learner. The student was engaged in the teaching and learning process. They interacted with the teachers, they practiced, and then they also reflected on their learning. And this deepens understanding. Yeah, thank you.
Great submission. Faustina, what role did the teacher play in improving the situation at the school?
Okay, thank you. The teacher asked the facilitator, instead of only explaining, he encourages the students to participate in designed activities, provide feedbacks, and then the teacher also adjusted teaching based on students' responses. And this helped learners to become more confident and engaged and part of the class. Thank you.
So, Nancy, based on Fidel's explanation, what role did the teacher play in improving the situation at the school?
The role the teacher played in improving the situation was the iterative cycle. And so with the case study we have at hand, in a math lesson, for example, the teacher will introduce the lesson the teacher will get feedback from the student, and based on the feedback, the teacher will know where to build up from. And so in this way, it looks like a scaffolding in a conversational way. And so in the maths class, the teacher will introduce the addition and ask the student to give feedback. If the child did not get the sign correctly, or the child doesn't know how to put all together, you build on that and you teach the child what the child is missing out. And with that, you know where the child is missing out, and you help the child grow as and when in the learning process. Thank you.
So based on your explanation, Miss Nancy, what do you think, or how did digital tools support learning in this case study?
Okay, so in this case study, we can introduce digital tools like videos, like the YouTube. You can play a YouTube video on addition. You can also set up a Kahoot game in the class that will make the children very happy and very interactive as they are interacting on the screens. You can also use other tools like Padlets. You can use other tools like quizzes in the classroom. And so as they are getting interactive with this digital tools, they'll see that math is not a boring subject. They'll see that English is an interesting subject. And so with these digital tools in this primary and junior high school, they'll be very interested and be very happy to come to a math and an English class. And so for the primary level, we can just use the Kahoot, Padlet, YouTube, Jamboard to make the class interactive. Thank you.
So finally, to Queen Esther, what challenge might arise, and what is your overall conclusion from the case study?
Thank you, Annette. So listening to everybody and their submissions on this brilliant pedagogical approach, we realized that time constraints might be a problem, and the class sizes. It's something that encourages dialogue. It encourages all students or all learner participation. So for a teacher to have a very large class size, this pedagogical approach might not be very effective, because you have to ensure that every child in the class is listened to, since Laurillard encourages conversation. So you have to make sure every child in the class is speaking up, you're taking their feedback, you're making them reconstruct learning. So large classes might not be ideal using this framework. Also, it's digital inclined. It means that schools that don't have access to internet or learning devices like tablets or Chromebooks or laptops are not going to really benefit from this framework. However, there is hope in that the case study that we are looking at suggests that if teachers who act as facilitators in this module, if they are willing to encourage dialogue, if they are willing to listen to the learners and take feedback, and if they are willing to create a conducive environment, even though there are challenges, the core idea of Laurillard, encouraging listening to the children and taking their feedback, and then correcting wrong assumptions, and finally allowing students to arrive at their own knowledge construction, will be achieved. So it is good overall.
Thank you. So I'll say this is a very beautiful conclusion to our study. So I'll thank all of you for your insightful contribution. This case study clearly demonstrates that when teaching is interactive and student-centered, learners are better able to understand and apply knowledge effectively. Thank you so much for joining us today. Have a beautiful day.
Thank you.